Hi everyone, Abhishek Singh here. Welcome you to my YouTube channel. Today's topic is what is Agile. In order to understand what is Agile, we need to understand why it was developed, what exactly it is, and how exactly it was developed. Okay, so why exactly Agile was developed? Before Agile was into picture, in terms of software development, there were other models which were used for software development process. One of the most popular model was waterfall model. We may all know about this model, but I'm just going to cover that in a quick brief. So it used to follow this particular process: planning, analyzing, build, test, and deploy. The major drawback because of this particular model came into picture because of this particular thing, that one particular phase will be worked on at one point of time and other phases won't be activated. Now once the planning is into picture, only planning is going to happen and all the other phases will be inactive. Once the planning is done, this particular phase will be done and frozen, and then you will move to the analyze phase. So similarly, the other phases of the model: analyze, build, test, deploy. So actually, software development was taking time to complete and the developed product was not meeting the current market requirements and trends. Why it was happening? Because our current environment, our current market changes at a very fast pace. So a decade ago or probably 15 years ago, we started seeing issues that it is taking time to complete, and when we are actually developing the product, it is not meeting the current market requirements and trends. So the industry leaders thought to develop a new innovative approach to develop software. So that's where this particular concept came into picture, so that let's make a different approach to develop the software model which is going to be more efficient. Now I have listed down a few shortcomings of the waterfall model. First is like time to market, then responding to a change, and we used to rely on heavy documentation in case of waterfall model. There were other models, but those were also similar to waterfall model. Now nowadays Agile is very much popular, but it was formally launched way back in 2001. But let's discuss about that in a few minutes. Now, what is Agile? Agile is actually an approach, a mindset in which we work in an iterative and incremental model. What do I mean by that is, we develop something, we break down a bigger project into smaller sections, and we try to deliver something in a short period of time. So here I have written this breaks down project into smaller sections and deliver a shippable product. So we'll have some substantial product at the end of every sprint. Sprint is a term which is used in Agile to refer a time duration in which a team commits something. So usually it is a 2 week time period. Now here also we'll follow the exact process, but the approach would be a little different. So the planning phase will happen, but this design, build, test, deploy, and review is going to be in an iterative model. So every 2 weeks you are going to perform this thing. Now this particular thing is going to involve customer from the start of the project to the end of the project, which will help us deliver the product as to what customer needs, and there'll be constant customer feedback. So we'll be discussing all these things in detail. I'll be explaining it with an example that why exactly what exactly is Agile. So let's say we want to, like, I'm a particular client, and I don't have a I'm a banking client and I don't have an application. Okay. So first thing, when I'm trying to give a project to a certain vendor, I would look for what is currently existing in my market with my competitors. Okay. So I look at the leading major banks in my country. Okay. And I'll probably ask them to develop a software which would have a login feature, and then let's say would have four different features of like transferring the money, a bill payment, etc., etc. Okay, so this is what I have created as a requirement and given it to a vendor, that these are the four features I need, and I want you to log in using a username and password. And the vendor says that we are going to take 1 year to develop this, and this is what your requirement, you have signed it off, and this is how we are going to work. This is going to be a software development life cycle waterfall model. Okay. Now, let's say after 3 months, I see that my market competitors have switched from a normal login like username and password. With the current change in technology, everyone is offering a feature of logging into the banking app using a fingerprint. Okay, so I have given this particular requirement to a vendor to create the project using normal username and password, and that is also going to be delivered after a year. Okay, what would happen is I am already behind my competitor, and even if I get to know after 3 months that this is what the new uh, current market standard is there and everyone is liking that feature and they have that technology advantage, I cannot incorporate that in SDLC model, because if I'll go back to my vendor and say that now I want this particular feature, they'll say no, this is not what you have signed off on, this is what you have told and this is how we have built you and all. So that is not going to work in case of software development lifecycle waterfall model. Okay, now in case of agile, we do not since we are not signing off on anything specific, we will prioritize as to what exactly customer needs, and here customer is also involved with you in every phase. Okay, he knows what is going on. So so the, so a major high level requirement would be same obviously, but the smaller sections could be prioritized and changed accordingly. So let's say after 3 months he sees okay, this particular feature is no longer required, or let's say earlier 70% of the population was using this particular feature, now only 5% is using, so there's no point of investing so much money on this, and they can deprioritize that and include this new feature which everyone is going to roll out. So that's how this particular approach helps our customer to get a competitive advantage, and that's why agile has become very popular nowadays and is implemented in almost all of the organizations. Okay, so this was one example. I'll be covering more examples and I'll be covering these things in detail. That will give a better idea in the further videos. Now, how exactly it was developed? So, it was formally launched in 2001. There were 17 industry leaders who met and discussed about all the issues, what they could think of, and they could all agree on certain points, which they call it as Agile Manifesto. So Agile Manifesto will say four values and 12 principles. If you're following these four values and 12 principles, then the way you're developing your software is actually following the Agile approach. I'll be discussing in detail about these values and principles in the next video. And if you like my video, please follow. I'm going to create a whole series on Agile. And like, share, and subscribe if you like the content. These particular principles and values can be located at this particular website, agilemanifesto.org, and I'll be covering that in the next video as well. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye bye.